Today we're talking about running on E in business and life. Hey everyone, my name is Jacob Godar, and my channel is about building your future through business, investing, and purpose. And today, while we're talking about this running on E in business and in life, I have on an awesome guest, a person that has been a friend of mine forever, that's been on a lot of these you've been seeing lately, and that is Dr. Matthew Pennell. So if you haven't seen any of these yet, I'll let Matthew introduce himself now.
What's up, everybody? My name is Matt Pennell. I'm a chiropractor here in Dallas, Texas at Element Health and Wellness. And so Jacob and I have had a good time going back and forth for some of these podcasts / videos recently. And I think as any entrepreneur or new and probably older business professional knows, you hit these times where you're running on E. You know, you're close to you feel like you're close to the end of the road, and there's still more to go and sometimes more to give. And, you know, we all have to dig a little bit deeper. And so, you know, Jacob had some cool ideas about, you know, adding just a little bit to that. So you want to touch on purpose, Jacob?
Yeah, you know, it's a really cool topic that half the reason once Matthew brought up this awesome topic, and I wanted to really go with that and really talk about it, because everyone needs to know this happens to everyone. You know, not everyone is just smiles and going for it and it's easy and they can do it in short days. You know, it can take a lot out of you, and running a business in your life, you can just be completely drained by all the problems that pop up and the extra time and the extra hours that takes. And with all of that leads to, you need like a shining star, North Star, a purpose to keep you going, because one of the biggest things that makes people fail is quitting. You know, you never fail if you don't quit. So to not quit, there needs to be a purpose strong enough to continue to pull you through all your challenges and keep you pushing, whether that be your family. Maybe you've got a super huge financial goal because, you know, you haven't started a family yet. But there needs to be something bigger than just you. There needs to be some big, amazing purpose that just pulls you through to achieve your goals.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Actually, my recent podcast was actually titled Finding Your Purpose. And so this is fun because it's kind of just expanding on what I had touched before. You know, no matter what form of business you're in, whether you're a chiropractor, you know, you're in business for yourself, it doesn't matter if you're an associate. And so when I say associate, that is more a reference to a salaried employee, right? Or an hourly employee. And you have your independent contractors, people that are generally working for themselves, but maybe with a group. And then you have your owners. And no matter what position you are, you have to have a purpose behind your move. If maybe you are a salaried employee and you want to be, you know, this is a part-time situation where, and I don't mean part-time as in you're only working 20 hours. I mean, hey, this is maybe a couple of year thing for me. Well, you know that your purpose is to make money, to, you know, maybe gain more knowledge, and then to expand on it by making the next move. Or, you know what, there are a lot of great jobs that are salaried positions all the way through. You know, there's so many different ways to approach it, but having your purpose in regards to whether I'm paying off debt, I'm gaining knowledge for the next step in my life. Maybe it's just, you know, I started a business and I want to be here for 20, 30 years. You know, you just know that you're weathering the storm based on your ultimate purpose and where you want to go, whether that's family, for yourself, whatever that may be.
I love that. Really talking about how building your purpose and finding your purpose. And you know, with that being said, you know, what brought up this conversation? Or, you know, what's been, so everyone can hear, and kind of the things in everyday life, what brought up this conversation? Because you brought it up. What's making you feel empty? What are you tank a little empty lately? What are those things that are sticking out to you?
Well, and I think, you know, this could very well be a podcast in itself, but I'm a typical person that likes to overextend, if you will. And it's not that I do it on purpose. I just, I like to be involved in a lot of things. I like to meet people. I'm whether it's business or life, like I want to give and I want to make other people happy as we build relationships and as I add value to their life. It makes me feel good. Like, I've heard from other people that's you're that way with other people until you like have kids, and then you want to pass along to your kids, as I'm sure Jacob can attest to. But today I don't want to, I wouldn't say I overextended myself, but there was a lot going on, a lot of back to back to back. And when, I still wanted to commit to this because, Jacob and I really enjoy this. And I think between the two of us, we're able to provide a lot of good value. But as it got to later in the day here, I mentally and physically, I just kind of felt spent. And so luckily, I mean, it's funny because before we even started this, Jacob and I even went back and forth. I'm like, who's going to start it, just because we were tripping over our words. And I think, it's funny because earlier in the day, you have these thoughts, for me personally, that are a little bit more clear. And as it goes on and your head's filled with more information, it kind of pushes you towards that running on E. And so that was kind of the first thing that popped to mind, and what I was feeling at the moment, and maybe what's relatable to some of you, listening or watching.
Man, I love that. Like, in that's showing that it's so common for all these things to come up, all these challenges, and to feel drained, and then like how to get onto that next thing. The next thing for us was this, and it's like, oh man, there's always the next thing. I see it with like estimates all the time. I look at my estimate list and I'm like, oh, I need to hustle through that. And it's like, it really doesn't matter, because no matter what, it just always gets bigger.
Right.
Like, I make the page small and I just haven't wrote all the new names on it yet. And, it's something else that I focused on this morning too, because I'm a super early riser, something that goes with this. I've always loved getting up and starting my day off. And we're talking about that feeling drained, being completely empty at the end of the day. Something that I've really been focusing on a lot lately, and I know Matthew does this way better than me, is just really thinking about, eating healthy and focusing on, getting some kind of workout to keep.
That's a job in itself right there.
It is, even though I didn't do much. Like, I got up here early and there's like a gym at this house, and I actually got on the treadmill and just walked, and I felt like way better than I ever do. And I've been reading, I think it's I just finished the book, Habits of Highly Effective People or something, from Bouchard, something Bouchard. And Brandon Bouchard maybe. And it was just talking about how, like, you need to keep that energy high. You need to stay healthy. You need to do something. It's not like you have to be ripped and jacked and whatever, but you need to at least be working out 3 times a week and trying to eat well so you don't feel bogged down. I know another thing that a lot of people in my industry, and I talk to, and I see people that are just gassed. They're not alone, just gassed from everything they're doing. They're gassed from eating horrible food, drinking a lot of beer, not getting much sleep. And, guys like me and you, and it hit me at the end of this book. I wrapped this book up today while I was walking on the treadmill, and it just hit me like a lead balloon. He said, he was talking about how people feel like, hey, I slept 4 hours a night all through my career, and that's what made me successful. And he said, there's so many people out there that grind and think that they work more, and that's what makes them successful and not getting sleep. And he's like, it's crazy that there's so many studies on that. This one person in particular that said this to the guy that wrote the book, he's like, there's so many studies that show how horrible that is for you. He was just exceptional in all these other areas, and where sleep totally was taking advantage of him and actually making him worse. He was so exceptional in the other areas that he just still did well. So it's like all these little things you have to do to take care of yourself, to keep cranking, to keep doing this stuff, you have your purpose, have your health, all these little pieces to make it where you can go out and keep achieving more stuff. And that doesn't just have to be business. That can just be, having energy to come home and play with your kids.
Yeah. Or speaking with wife or significant other or whatever. I like where you went with a lot of that. I think running on E can come from a lot of different things. It can because, like I mentioned before, we are overextending, or it can because we're not feeding ourselves with the right nutrients to get us through a day properly. And maybe if we had eaten some better foods and maybe not loaded down with carbs and whatever at lunch, maybe we'd still have some energy. It can be drained from a lot of different things. We can just be around people that drain our energy.
Exactly.
I don't think a lot of us realize how much, food energy is important. And, I truly feel that, we kind of put ourselves on the back burner in business and just life in general. Maybe it's with the kids, like the kids come first or family comes first, whatever. And, so I'm doing a program right now called 75 Hard, and Jacob knows it's a lot of mental, it's workouts, you're not drinking alcohol, you're taking out some different things. But what I've found is that part of me is really excited to be done because I want to go home at night and just be done versus like adding in another workout. But what that makes me think also is that there are so many times in our lives that probably if somebody wasn't making us do something, we just flat out wouldn't do it. And so, if I didn't get my morning workout in and I'm tired at night, well, I probably didn't do anything for that day. So, you have to hold yourself accountable on all levels. And I mean, look, some people can function on only a couple hours of sleep at night. It's not me. Like I'm a 6 to 8 hour guy. And if I don't get that amount, I can go shorter than that for a short amount of time, but consecutively I'm spent. I can't think mentally. You don't get a good version. So you have to know yourself and know that, hey, maybe you need to dial it back a little bit. I know that's not an easy conversation, but your overall health is important. The problem is that, you find yourself, if you go down that line of continuously just overworking, not sleeping, not eating right, you develop adrenal issues where, you're chugging more caffeine to make up the difference. You develop maybe gut issues, colon issues, because there is a real side of rest and digest. There's what's called a parasympathetic nervous system and a sympathetic. And so many of us run on this sympathetic nervous system all the time, this go, 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 this fight or flight. It's a nonstop thing. And we tax that system so strong that our body doesn't get a chance to recover and rest and digest. So the parasympathetic is now putting us into that more relaxed state. And I just think it's a very, very common thing to go, go, go and put yourself essentially running on empty or running on E as close as possible. Makes it tough.
It does, man. It's so true. And like this, just so crazy, all the things that come at you, and how you get grinding and you get rolling. And this isn't a complaint. This is a lot of why I said there needs to be purpose, because it is going to be a challenge. But you need to, that word you said of accountability, you need to either hold yourself accountable or find people around you to hold you accountable, because the more you take on, I mean, I think all of us, you're the same way as me, you overextend yourself because you want to do more, and I want to keep trying to do more. And then I want to stretch myself there so I can figure out how to do it. And then I want to try to back work it to where I'm not constantly just strung out on it and stressed about it all the time. Because that's, I mean, I know when me and Matthew are talking, it's like we go through the same thing. So I know he feels this. It's like, sometimes it's like, when's enough going to be enough? But I know the way I am, enough is never enough. Like continued growth is what I want. And sometimes that can, without purpose and without all these other things, it can just leave you feeling drained. So there's so many things you need to watch for, and so many things you need to be held accountable for. You don't want to look up and be like, wow, I made a lot of money, but man, I put on so much weight. But man, I don't have a wife and kids anymore because they all left me, or all these things that could just slip by you when it's all really important. And highly effective people that do it all, even though they're running on empty sometimes, and that happens, they're doing their best to hold all the pieces, and give time to the things that matter most.
Yeah, absolutely. You're kind of talking about just, where the energy's spread and your time spent and all those things. And one of the things that I noticed recently, I'm sure it's been going on a little while, but my wife has been giving me a harder time recently because of the 75 hard, because I come home and then I have to do so. Just so that the audience knows, it's 2 workouts a day is one of the biggest parts of it. And one has to be outside, one has to be inside, and they're supposed to each be 45 minutes, and you have to hit your marks. Well, because I don't fully have time to knock it all out in the morning before the office, I come home and I do 45 minutes outside, and that's run, walk. Yesterday was like suicide sprint kind of stuff, and just, back and forth. But regardless of what you're doing, it still takes time. Like, no matter how fast you run, it's still 45 minutes. And that's difficult. So, she's been a little bit more upset that, hey, you're not spending as much time at night. And, I'm like, hang on. Like, I've got 14, 15 more days. Like, bear with me. I'm doing the best that I can. But some of that is sacrifice. And luckily, it's a short-term thing. I understand there's a problem there. I will continue to work at fixing it. But, sometimes you do. I think that communication is big, just making the sacrifices for a short-term deal. But one of the suggestions that I had, just based on some of the things that you were talking for our audience, was I personally think that making a list is really important. Mm-hmm. When I get into the office, I try to do a good job every day. I know I've seen Jacob do it and put it on his story. Make a list of, even the top 5 things that need to get done. And some of them suck. And I'll admit, like, sometimes I'm not always dying to do it, but I like crossing them off the list. Yeah. It makes me feel good at the end of the day. It makes me feel accomplished. And I also feel like you don't drag things over, because sometimes our minds are going so crazy with, oh, I got to treat this patient. Oh, I need to call this person. Oh, I need to send this email. Oh, I got to write this list. Whatever it is. Writing it down keeps you focused and gets it out of your mind. God, it feels so free. I don't know if you've ever tried this, but I started keeping a dry erase board, like, when I'm working out, because for me, that's when my mind is ticking the most. Mm-hmm. And now, as soon as I think of a thought, instead of like grabbing my phone and jacking around, I just jot it down on my dry erase board, and then I look at it when I'm done and figure out what I was talking about for the day. But it helps me, dude. Clearing the mind is so important.
It's so, that's why that when you see me write my goals in the morning, I carry that planner with me like 24/7. I even, like, this morning when I got done writing my goals, when I got done doing the treadmill deal, I realized on the treadmill I should have had it there because some stuff popped up that I needed to write down. But so then I carried it into the bathroom with me for when I took a shower. So when stuff popped back up, and, I've heard a lot of people talk about that is to always have something with you, because I have so many ideas that when I'm thinking of them, they're great. And then it just goes away, and then it's on to the next thing, And you're right. Writing a list down, trying to, even if you don't follow that list, plan your day. Try to look at the most important stuff. Really, I think more than anything, what leaves us feeling empty is just being completely beat down from the feeling of you didn't really actually get anything done, or you didn't focus on the things that really point towards your purpose as much, and it's so draining to feel like I've just kicked butt. I've been, everybody uses the terminology. We've already said it 10 times in this thing, but I've just been grinding on this all day long, and I got nowhere. And it's just such a depressing feeling, and I think that's one of those things, is if you can at least make a little movement on one thing to get you closer to your purpose, it's so energizing, and it can help you not have the feeling so empty feeling, or having your tank feel so empty. Because I personally feel like when I have that, it's a failure on my part. Like I've messed up, and I haven't spent time doing what I know I should actually be doing. And now I'm mad at myself, and I feel like I just didn't do the right things. It just makes me, that's usually when I feel the most like, man, I'm just drained, and I just feel totally empty inside because of that. So that's how I feel that the most.
I agree. And that's why, for me personally, making the list and checking it off and feeling that accomplishment is what helps me, because I can absolutely speak to that. I do it consistently. And I think those days when we haven't hit the list, or we're running all over and don't really feel like we got a lot done, that's when it kind of feels that empty, like, what I do today, even though there was a lot of good that came of it, it was not ideally what you would want.
Yeah.
For me personally, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You first.
For me personally, when it came to you're talking ideas and writing some stuff down. I do feel it's really important to have, whether it is a little dry erase board, a notebook like what you're talking. I mean, I have my notebook here. But what's great about it is it also keeps you from getting on your phone and playing around. When I'm in the gym, that's when I get all these ideas. There's something about exercise. It's you're boosting metabolism, you're creating those endorphins that it just kicks the mind going. And all of a sudden you get, all these ideas flowing and, you're getting excited, whatever. But it's such a big distraction to grab your phone and then you like want to look something up or talk to somebody or whatever. So that's why it's great to just have it, write it down, get it out of your thoughts, and then you can come back to it. So you're not worried about forgetting. And that personally makes a big difference for me. I don't know if you would agree with that.
Yeah, I would say, and I know that, and I've neglected I hate like how much I've neglected working out for so long, because you're right. It makes ideas pop. That's why today when I was doing that, I was like, man, I need my notebook in front of me, but I don't want to stop what I'm doing right now at the same time. And being able to catch that stuff. I mean, it's just crucial, because that's something I've caught myself lately. I mean, I get on my phone and I'm so into reading or learning about stuff that I'll just trail off on something. I'll get on and I'll look at, well, what happened in the stock market today? And now I'm researching 5 stocks and I'm just down a whole rabbit hole, and it's a whole different thing than what I should be doing. And it's just, I'm definitely like the whole, like, drawn to shiny things, ADHD type person, oh, that's shiny. I really want to learn about that. Okay. I'm going to go spend some time on that right now.
I feel you. And, there are too many things on our phone for to pull our attention. It just seems social media. I think social media, I don't really just scroll social media as much anymore, but that's one of the most empty feeling things to me. Like in a business world, this is just my opinion, but I think you need to view social media typically like there's almost nobody that you're following. I like to follow and check in on people. I'm not saying I don't, but in theory, like for what you post and how you post and whatever, you got to just pretend like you're just putting it out there. Right.
Yeah.
And I think like the less that you do all the scrolling and checking, the less empty you feel also, or at least that's been my personal experience.
Well, there's the horrible problem of people, the whole grass is greener thing on that makes everybody feel empty. And it's sickening that you can portray anything you want. You can make it look as good as you want, and you can act all you want. And people look at that and they take it as face value that that's how great their life is. I mean, anyone can tell any story. It's just like a movie. A movie looks so awesome because they tied all these awesome events together. Pictures can look so awesome because I might be hating myself on the inside and hating my life, but I smiled for that split second and I made it look perfect. So it's a zero representation of reality. And it leads to so many people feeling empty because they care so much about what other people are doing and maybe having that same thing. Instead of, back to what we're talking about, focusing on your purpose, focusing on being accountable for doing the things you should be doing. I've verbally said it. I haven't written the check yet, but I'm getting back into having a business coach. I want more accountability. I'm like teetering, trying to decide if I should justify it because health is important, but I'm teetering on like trying to find a personal trainer. Yeah. Hiring like a personal trainer too. I'm doing more stuff than I've ever done with.
You sound like me at the end of the day where I can't think of my own name. I swear, like it's something about being in that setting where you're just like, wait a second, where am I? Happens every day, 5 o'clock.
I've rode the up and down on the vacation today. I had 2 margaritas for lunch. Then I got back to the house and it's like 100 degrees outside and I'm sitting watching everybody in the pool, but I'm working on estimates. So now I'm drinking coffee again. As we're talking about health, I'm telling you how healthy I am.
Hey, it's real though, I mean, that's
yeah. But that's something like, there's so many moving pieces in my life. I am actively doing more than I've ever done with all kinds of different stuff. And, it's so important to stay on task. I had a talk with girls in the office the other day about, they feel like they can't do what they need to do because the phone's always ringing. And it rings so much that everybody is constantly answering the phone instead of
Wow.
completing estimates, making sure stuff's getting out in a timely manner and customers are updated. So we're a call service is going to start working for us on Monday that integrates with our system. So hopefully that'll ease that. And as they're having that problem, that's when I started describing my problem. As much as I love sales and it's my favorite thing and it's what I really like to do, all I do is run on a rat wheel of estimates and sales all day long, and it doesn't get me any closer to my bigger goal. Just me selling is just like me. It's turning into the same version of just me doing the work and trying to make a landscape. So I can only install so many things. Well, now it's turned into, I can only sell so much stuff. And now I want to work on bigger business stuff that gets me closer to my goals. I want to be wealthy. I've told everybody that I'm around, I want to be wealthy because I want you to be wealthy. And if you've got an owner that's not, you should want your owner, or you should want whoever you're working for to be getting rich, because who else gets rich if an owner doesn't get rich? And people need to focus on the right things. And I've always had the biggest fear that I will actually fail everyone around me by not being successful enough, because by me not being successful enough, I won't offer them enough opportunity in their life. And so, I'm weird about stuff, and that's why I hold myself so accountable, and I want to work, even though sales for me is where I want to be. It's the most fun thing for me. I know there's other things that I should be working on that are bigger, that will be better for everyone, that will get me closer to my purpose of inspiring people and having more for my family and everyone around me, and being able to be be more, I can't even say the word again. We're back there, but more of a philanthropist.
Yeah.
But there's a way you say that in a different wording that I'll say. Yeah. That's it. I can't talk right now. So, but and those things that I just described, it leaves you feeling drained. You can't do what you know you should actually be trying to do.
No doubt. You know what? And no matter where our audience is at in their lives, you can take these words of wisdom, like think about this, right? Jacob is further along than maybe some of you starting out, right? Jacob's further along than me right now. So Jacob's had a business for 6 years, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So, he's gone through the process of grinding it out for himself, then building a team, then grinding it out for the team, then, growing that. And he's got people to where now he can start to focus on other things. It wasn't always like that. So,
No.
Keep that in mind when you're starting something new, that you may not have that opportunity to look so much big. Maybe it's, you need to focus on something soon. And you know what, earlier on, we're all running on E for different reasons. When you're early in business, you're running on E because you're just trying to survive, right? Like you're trying to make it for yourself. And if it's a selfish thing, that's okay too. Be selfish. Like just do whatever it is that makes you kick through, as long as you're not being an asshole to people. But make sure that you're doing what you need. And then I think as you grow, your reason changes, your purpose changes a little bit. You mold things differently. And I just feel that it's a step-by-step process. And it was difficult for me when I was in St. Louis, learning from people that had been in business for 20 years, because I kept thinking that like I needed to be there. And in all reality, like I was 20 years behind, and so I practiced in St. Louis for 5 years and then came down here and started again. Now, technically I'm 5 or 6 years in as a chiropractor, but as a business professional in Dallas, I'm only a year in. And so, that it's kind of some humble pie that you have to eat as you're starting again. And you just have to remember that, like, hey, Jacob's here right now. I may be here as I'm starting this, but that's okay. Like we still know the whole purpose of this video and this podcast is because we're all in this together and we all feel the same things, just in different ways. And so we want to be resources for people if they want us and they want that knowledge.
Yeah. And all of this is all relative to the position where you're at in your life. What I'm doing might not be what somebody else wants to do. And the same thing will happen because of some of the things I said. If you don't watch and listen to what I'm saying right now, is you might look at everything I said and think, how awesome does that sound? but you might get there and realize that's your own personal hell. You know, it might not be what you want. You know, I've grown and I've changed so much, and there's so many things that have changed along the way to get me here. And all of it, like, if you can't have purpose and be enjoying it the whole way, if you're always wishing for that one big time where everything gets just the way you want it, and you can't wait to get there, you can't wait to get to where that guy is. Well, he's saying, I can't wait to get where the guy that's above him is. So you need to enjoy the process, or you'll be miserable, because that great time, that awesome thing you thought was going to come might never come.
No doubt. Well, you know, it's funny, I've said it before, but anytime like I'm talking to you, I get so involved in what you're saying, I like trip out on what I was about to say. Cause I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. I don't know. Anyway, I think like really coming back to your purpose at any point in time is that's what's going to keep you going. It's going to keep you rolling. If, like I said, if it's dead, if it's the next level, if it's knowledge, whatever it is, if it's growing a relationship, maybe it's a temporary thing, maybe it's a long-term thing. It's just coming back to it is what will keep you rolling. And my last thought is, we may be running on E, but I'm never going to let the tank go so low that I bottom out, right? Like, I will never let that car be stuck on the side of the road. I may let it run low at times, and trust me, I want to fill it up faster than I want to get the tank back full when I'm at a quarter tank or whatever it is, or people like to go at a half. Sometimes it dips down, and that's okay, but we never let it get down so low that we can't survive. And that's the biggest difference, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yes. That is gold. You can run on E, and you can do it at times, but you must ensure that new exciting thing, that purpose is going to pull you forward, that new exciting thing, that thing that you should actually be focused on, is going to excite you enough to fill back up that tank so you can keep pushing.
No doubt. And make sure it's for yourself too. Like, there's a big part of that. You know,
there's a bunch of things.
Like, you gotta make sure that you're getting some fulfillment, you know, and it'll make all the difference in the world.
Heck yeah. Well, Matthew, it was awesome having you on. This is a great topic. I know we rambled off on some things, but I know we just truly wanted to share how we are feeling so we could be real, so you could see actually what was going on, and so it could help you and provide value.
No doubt. Hey, and this is a look into the real life of what we're feeling, what's going on. So you guys will experience it too. Thanks so much, Jacob.
Yep. Thank you. Talk soon.
See you guys.